In the fall of 1991, a small estate outside of Newcastle upon Tyne, England, experienced a night that would leave a mark on the community over 30 years later. Brought back into the public eye recently by Sam Fender's duet with Noah Kahan, including the lyrics, "I grew up in the fallout from the riots in the 90s. More people than ever before will be aware of the destruction that swept the streets of North Shields. On this episode of Hints of History, we will be learning about the Meadow Well Riots. Meadow Well is an estate just to the west of Newcastle upon Tyne, located in the northeast of England. The community was built with the intention of being used as council housing, or public housing. This means the local government owns the houses and rents them out to those in need of homes, usually at a lower price than other non-council housing in the area. This community had dealt with a negative reputation for most of its existence. It was faced with, quote, poverty, neglect, unemployment, soaring crime, and a stigma of being a problem estate, end quote. In 1971, over half of the heads of household in the area were labeled unskilled or semi-skilled, leading to low-paying jobs. Almost 20% of males faced unemployment. Fast forward 20 years, some streets saw a majority of their residents unemployed. Around this time, the government announced the Metropolitan Borough of North Tyneside, the local government, was over budget and forced cuts to be made. It felt to many locals like Meadow Well was hit the hardest. On top of the poverty faced by many, residents believed the estate to be abandoned by those who were meant to protect and care for it. Some stated the police wouldn't respond to calls and the council would rarely come to fix issues at the houses. If they did, it would be a poor job. The neighborhood was screaming for help for years, only to be ignored. Ultimately, crime went up, and the tension in the area climbed as well. Many young adults found crime to be a way of making a living in the impoverished community, especially when they saw that the police wouldn't put a stop to it. For a community that already had poor relations with the local police and council, the death of two young men acted as a flame too close to a powder keg. On the night of September 9, 1991, 17-year-old Dale Robson and 21-year-old Colin Atkins stole a vehicle, ultimately leading to a police chase. At some point, the boys' car veered off the road, striking a light pole, killing them both. Rumors quickly spread that the police played a hand in the boys losing control of the vehicle. However, reports stated that the police were half a mile away when the crash occurred. The talk around town brought the young people of Meadow Well onto the streets to showcase their frustration with the local police force. Early in the night, they set fire to the electric substation, which plunged the community into darkness. With that as their cover, they continued looting and setting fires for 5 hours before police were able to gain control, ultimately arresting 37 of the 400 rioters. After the riots, the government looked at how to improve not only the state of the community, but also the relations between residents and the local authorities. It was obvious to many that the estate needed to be rejuvenated and given a second chance at life. Monthly meetings took place to unite the community with a common goal of rebuilding Meadow Well into a better place to live. Millions of pounds were spent on improving the environment of the area. New homes were built and old homes were refurbished, both council homes and private housing. A community center and health center were both built to provide aid to the residents, as well as CCTV installed throughout the area to hopefully prevent a future with continued high crime rates. A special and more present police force was created and based in the estate with a focus on repairing relationships with locals. This is not to say the estate is problem-free today. Crime and unemployment are still issues to be dealt with, and even more shocking, the life expectancy is 10 years shorter there than that of Tynemouth, a town less than 2 miles away. However, the sense of the community is incredibly strong in Meadow Well. Many say the estate has some of the friendliest people who will always protect each other. The local community center, the Meadows, aims to, quote, use the power of human connection to create a thriving community, end quote, and ultimately move past the stigma of the riots. Sources used in this episode can be found at our website linked in the show notes, as well as a link to learn more about the Meadows and their contributions to the community.